Welcome to Tibet This Week, where we bring you weekly news edition on His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tibet, and the Central Tibetan Administration. These are the headlines. Sikyong Penpa meets former U.S. Special Coordinators for Tibetan Issues in Washington, D.C. National Endowment for Democracy honors 11th Panchen Lama with 2025 Service Medal. Officiating Sikyong Gyari Dolma presides over Experts Gratitude Symposium in Dharamshala. Tibetan Parliament in exile engages with foreign delegates. Kalon Tharlam Changra visits schools in Tibetan settlements in central India. Representative Chukki meets Hungarian lawmaker, accompanies Kyabje Kundeling Rinpoche to Swiss Parliament. Professor Robert Thurman pays tribute to His Holiness the Dalai Lama in the UK Parliament. Tibetan students selected among top 12 speakers at the Parliament House in New Delhi. Last Friday, in a special meeting, Sikyong Penpa of the Central Tibetan Administration met with former U.S. Special Coordinators for Tibetan Issues. Though informal in setting, the gathering carried a symbolic significance, reflecting the enduring bipartisan and institutional support that the United States has extended to the Tibetan cause over the years. The U.S. Special Coordinator for Tibetan Issues, established within the U.S. Department of State under the Tibetan Policy Act of 2002, represents an important position to the Tibetan people as it serves as a vital channel for dialogue, coordination, and advocacy on matters concerning Tibet. Moreover, this office coordinates U.S. government efforts in support of the fundamental rights and welfare of the Tibetan people. The meeting was also joined by Representative 𝑻𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 of the Office of Tibet, Washington, D.C., and member and board members of International Campaign for Tibet. The 11th Panchen Lama, 𝒌 was honored with the 2025 Democracy Service Medal by National Endowment for Democracy as he remains forcibly disappeared by the Chinese government. Gyari Rinpoche, abbot of the Temple Monastery in exile, received the award on his behalf. In a special message written by His Holiness the Dalai Lama on this special occasion, His Holiness reflected on his earnest effort to ensure a long and successful life to the 11th Panchen Lama, expressed profound sadness over the opposite result of that, yet still remains hopeful that he will experience dignity and freedom someday. Sikyong Penpa of the Central Tibetan Administration, who was the recipient of 2024 Democracy Service Medal, and Representative 𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 of the Office of Tibet, Washington, D.C., also attended the event. This recognition affirms the Tibetan people's right to choose their spiritual leaders free from external interference, highlights the PRC's ongoing violations of human rights and religious freedom, and solemnly marks 30 years since the forced abduction of the 11th Panchen Lama. Officiating Sikyong and Kalon Gyari Dolma of the Department of Security and Chief Justice Commissioner 𝒉𝒂 of the Central Tibetan Administration attended the Experts Gratitude Symposium, organized by Lha Charitable Trust as chief guest and guest of honor last Saturday at the Tibetan Institute of Performing Arts. Officiating Sikyong Gyari Dolma in her address at the gathering attributed the thriving Tibetan democratic system of governance in exile to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and stressed on staying unified in years to come. She further urged Tibetans in the diaspora to base all of their actions to Tibetans inside Tibet. Kalon Gyari Dolma, as officiating Sikyong, also held an interactive meeting with a delegation team from the Australia-Tibet Council, led by Executive Officer Zoe Bedford. The past week, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the Tibetan Parliament in exile engaged with multiple foreign delegates. This Monday, Deputy Speaker Tsering and the Standing Committee of the Tibetan Parliament in exile welcomed a team of 𝒍 In a separate meeting, Deputy Speaker also met with delegates from Australia-Tibet Council. In both the meetings, Deputy Speaker briefed on the evolution of Tibetan democracy, functioning of the Tibetan Parliament in exile, and the critical situation inside Tibet under China's repressive policies. In another meeting this past week, Speaker Khyentse Namtempe and Deputy Speaker Tsering met with the 𝒉𝒂 supporters group from the 𝒉𝒂 IT Research Center at the Parliament. Kalon Tharlam Changra of the Department of Education, Central Tibetan Administration, is on an official visit to schools in Tibetan settlements in central India. So far, Kalon has visited and met with students, teachers and parents of some border Tibetan school and local Tibetan residents in Penpa and Bandra district. During these interactions, Kalon Tharlam Changra encouraged parents and teachers to guide and cultivate reading habits, curiosity, moral discipline, and clear life aspirations in children. She urged greater collaboration between home and school to ensure holistic growth in children. In 𝒉, Kalon convened a meeting with camp and settlement leaders to discuss further school matters. While en route, Kalon also visited the Tibetan sweater sellers market in Nagpur, Maharashtra on 29 October 2025. During her visit to Budapest, Representative Chukki, accompanied by UN Advocacy Officer 𝒉𝒊𝒃𝒆𝒕 of the Tibet Bureau Geneva, held separate meetings with Dr. Kathleen Che, member of the Hungarian National Assembly, Gyari 𝒉𝒊𝒃 and Christina Baranyi, mayors of Budapest and Budapest 9 district. The discussions centered around the deteriorating situation inside Tibet, including the ecological damages due to construction of mega dams and China's expanding influence in Hungary and across Europe. She also interacted with local media as well. Tibet Bureau Geneva also accompanied Kyabje Kundeling Rinpoche to the Swiss Parliament in Bern, where they met with National Councillor Lawrence Valman-Rey last Wednesday. Rinpoche also addressed Tibetans and Friends of Tibet at the University of Zurich, organized by the Tibetan Youth Association in Europe and Student Network Tibet. The Office of Tibet London, along with Enacting Peace, jointly hosted Professor Robert Thurman, Chair of Tibet House US in the UK Parliament, on Monday this week, where Professor Thurman gave a talk titled His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama at 90, Ocean of Wisdom and Compassion. The special event was hosted by Chris Law, Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group of Tibet and UK Member of Parliament. Professor Thurman reflected on the 6 decades of friendship he shared with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and expressed deep reverence for His Holiness's universal teachings on ethics and compassion that transcend religious boundaries. Last Friday, Tenzin Jodhen, a Class 10 student of Sambota Tibetan School Gurupra, spoke at the Parliament House in New Delhi, paying homage to Mahatma Gandhi during an event titled Know Your Leader. She was one among the top 12 selected across multiple schools in India. That is all for this week's edition of Tibet This Week. See you in the next one.